What is up, everybody? Rolling it again after an hour and a half on the Cosmic Force last night. And I was telling Freddy, like, hey, man, if the weekly show isn't enough for you, what if we turn this thing into a daily thing? And I could feel Meg reaching out to force choke me through this video screen like Sabaoth does to Grand Admiral Thrawn on Outbound Flight. We're not actually doing that. This is a very special event, very special week. And it's a good thing that I've got vacation next week. And in fact, tonight, here live in the chat, what's up, everybody? I want to get some help, all right? You're going to get the chance to vote on what my next Star Wars vacation book is going to be. I'm leaving on vacation for going up to Maine. Basically, got a full week to sit and read. I'm going to meet Emma, which is cool. Emma and I are going to go do some Star Wars shopping. I'm excited about that. But here we are tonight. I am going to have you help me pack my Star Wars fanny pack. We do now have Legends Lookback fanny packs. You got yours ordered yet, Freddy? You got your Legends Lookback fanny pack?
I do. I cannot wait to get it. I'm going to wear it about 24/7. So
you wear it with your Legends Lookback tank.
There you go.
Yeah, you got.
As I hit my mic.
Perfect. Yeah, what's up, audio listeners? Wake up. All right, so here's the choices. These are like I got like 3 books that I'm going to read within the next couple of months, probably. You know how this is. A couple of them are for the podcast. One is just a straight up pleasure read. And I want some help here. Okay. And everybody in the chat, I want your opinion. So let me know. Do you think I should read this graphic novel, Forever Crimson? This is the Legends kind of swan song with Valence, kind of gets you up to speed with Valence for his appearances in the Bounty Hunters comics. And pick this one up. We're going to do a Valence character spotlight before too long on the show in Legends Look Back. And I haven't read any of these issues. Going to have to do it sooner or later. Or got this one in the mail not too long ago. The Star Wars Insider Fiction Collection. We're going to do a roundtable in August. It got bumped. It was supposed to be. They didn't get it out in time. They dropped the ball on us. They got it out late. It's fine. I'm excited. It's even got a Dash Rendar story. Look at that thing.
Yeah.
Man, he's so epic in this picture. Or the Hutt Gambit. I haven't finished my read through of the original, the AC Crispin Han Solo trilogy. I saw they've got it through my library on Libby, so I can just load it right up onto the Kindle, the iPad, take it with me without having to pack any extra books. So let me know in the chat. Those are my 3 options. I've got some other things in the works. Some of them are secret, so I can't talk about them unless I do, because I'm a bad secret keeper. All right, let me know, everybody in the chat. 1 for Forever Crimson, 2 for Star Wars Insider Fiction Collection, 3 for the Hutt Gambit. What's your vote, Freddy?
I like Hutt Gambit, but the Insider Fiction Collection, I haven't cracked it open yet. I'm so excited. Got it right here.
We're in like the sweet spot of, if I read it now, am I going to forget it before the roundtable?
Yeah.
There it is.
It's a good question.
Let's ask our guests. We've got tonight joining us both Emma and Jacob from the Cosmic Force. What's up?
Hello.
You have a vote
based
for my
on
Star Wars fanny pack?
Yeah, I mean, based on what we do for a podcast, I think you must guess we are very partial to comics. So I vote for Forever Crimson.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that's objectively the best answer we can give. Although I'm just very curious as how you're gonna fit this in your fanny pack. I mean, you're gonna have to do this.
It's a metaphorical fanny pack. I didn't actually order the fanny pack yet. Thanks for outing me on my own show. They're actually, Teespring is running a deal right now for Father's Day. The problem is I bought too many things for myself, and I'm in trouble with my wife. So I've got to wait until next month. You really do be like that sometimes. All right, so is that your official vote? Is that your official vote, guys?
I think it has to be, yeah.
Oh yeah. On behalf of the entire crew of the Cosmic Force, that is our vote.
That's 4 votes?
Let's see what people are saying in the chat. We've got a great chat here with us tonight. So many wonderful people. We got Spiced It. Hey, Jacob, that's you. No, you can't vote twice. Vote in the chat. What a messy whirlwind of a show we've got here as we continue the Shadows of the Empire crossover event, night 2 of 3, and some other goodies added in along the way. We're going to talk about here tonight. So without further ado, let's light this candle. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Legends Look Back, proudly part of the Youtini Podcast Network, which now has a logo, by the way. We got to show that off next time around. This is a Star Wars books podcast for people who don't always stretch, but when they do, they stretch Armstrong, where we talk about all things Legends, celebrating our rich EU history, as well as diving into lesser-known Star Wars classics. I'm your host, Jared Mays, and I'm joined by my good friend, Freddy C., who just pre-ordered tickets to the Space Jam 2 premiere. What's up, Freddy?
Welcome to the Space Jam. Here's your chance to the dance. Something like that, right?
Man, the Quad City DJs did a number of tracks for that soundtrack, and I'm going to go ahead and say it. It is the greatest soundtrack of any animated and live-action basketball Looney Tunes movie of the 90s.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, that's a very niche market. I'd be curious to see what else contends in that genre.
It is actually just a fantastic soundtrack. I listen to it unironically quite often, in fact. Also, joining us tonight, we've got our producer, the one who's holding this thing together, and now even got us the little jiggly triangles on the right colors this week, which I'm really excited about. What's up, Meg?
What is up? I was so excited to give you that gift this week, and we did it. We figured it out. Congratulations, us, and by us I mean me, because I did it. I did the thing.
Everybody give Meg a virtual round of applause. Those and Ryan, obviously, our graphic designer, for making them, and then we buried them. But it's like the chroma key thing with the green screen. We don't use green screens, but it's all very technical behind the curtain.
Yep.
But the triangles, where are they? Right over here?
Over
They're
there,
back.
over
They're
there,
back.
up there
I'm excited.
somewhere.
Also joining us, you heard them a moment ago, we've got our guests from the Cosmic Force. We couldn't fit all of the Cosmic Force into Legends Look Back. That'd be a little bit too much. We had all 6 people last night in the Roundtable over there as we covered the comic. And wow, what a wild ride that was. I woke up with a huge smile on my face, also a headache because it was a late night and I had an early morning, but also a big smile on my face. We are joined first and foremost tonight by Jacob. How are you, Jacob?
I'm very. Oh,
Nope,
that's Emma.
nope.
Oh, there we go. I am doing well. Thank you for having me. It was a late night. I had to do actual work after it too, so that was a later night for me. But I'm happy to be here.
Dang, man, work after all that? Oh, man.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I had 100 pages of grad school reading before class this morning, which was rough. You know what else is rough? Not Emma. What's up, Emma?
Hey, what's up? What an introduction right there.
I did not write out your introduction. Sorry.
No worries, man. Listen, I'm so happy to be here. Last night was a blast. Tonight, I bet, is going to be even more fun. And also, if you heard the cold open, I'm meeting Jared next week. That's going to be a ton of fun. I'm so excited.
I'm so
One
excited.
step for Emma taking over Youtini, the Emperor of Youtini.
Yes,
The
yes.
Empress.
Somehow Emma
The
has
Empress.
returned to Legends Look Back.
Yeah, we got some big plans. I'm hoping to do a little segment for YouTube. A little spoiler alert here, Emma. I've written out a little gag about if Star Wars characters lived in Maine, what their names would be.
Oh my god, I can't wait.
One of the best
Oh my
ones that and we're gonna do it with lobster rolls stuffed in our mouths. I don't know.
Yes.
We'll see how it comes together.
There's a
But
great lobster roll place right by that comic shop I was
I
talking
know.
about, man.
All right, cool. Let's do it. You know who I'm excited to talk about in a Maine accent is Dash Rinda. So
yeah, there you go.
it's gonna be a good one.
Jeez.
Can't wait. Well, this week we are not going to be doing our patented segments, Thraken Thrift Store or Legends Lookout. There's too much to cover with Shadows of the Empire in the glory of 90s excess. Shadows of the Empire has way too much jam-packed into it, both as a story and as an event. And we have done the same in Youtini fashion, trying to model ourselves after this Shadows event. We do have a little bit of news about the event, and that is launched on the site this week. We have, I'm going to throw the links up in the chat, 2 new collections. Meg, would you want to tell people about these new Shadows of the Empire-centric collections?
Yeah, we have, as you said, 2 of them. Don't know why I'm repeating it. There are 2 new collections. We have a Dash Rendar collection, and we have a print. Oh my god, I didn't practice saying his name. Jared.
2 syllables.
Shizor.
You don't have to say his name if you don't want to. I mean, I know he's not the most likable guy.
He's really not.
Oh.
Yeah, we got 2 of them, and they're great. And they're edited by me as everything on the site is. But you know who wrote them? Jared wrote them because he's great. I don't know
So
what
Jared
I don't know what
drew it
adjective
with a
I was gonna
crayon,
use.
faxed it over to you. You typed it up.
I wrote him
How it
in
goes.
crayon. Is that what you said?
What?
I do perpetually have hundreds of crayons lying around my house at all times because I've got 2 little girls. But I did type them on the computer the good old-fashioned way. We also have out today not a written article, but a YouTube video by Nathan himself all about the history of Shadows of the Empire. And I noticed it right before we went live, and I can't wait to watch it as soon as we're done. I got to look an early look at the script. Nathan did an incredible job trying to recap this book based off of only having played the video game as a kid. He just went off of that and tried to recap the story and did an excellent job, an even better job talking about it on the YouTube channel. I will plug that right here. So without further ado, many Bothans died to bring us this podcast. This is the biggest story event in the history of the Star Wars expanded universe, in which Han is replaced by a wannabe with shoulder pads. Vader is naked. Lando is a bad cook. Chewie gets a new hairdo twice. Shizor one-ups blue milk with green champagne, and boy, are there some pheromones galore. So cheers to the second part of the Shadows of the Empire Roundtable. Emma, you did a great job with this last night. I'm going to ask you to keep it going with round 2 here. Can you hit us up with some of the behind-the-scenes trivia of Shadows of the Empire?
Absolutely. So Shadows of the Empire was written in 1996, and the novel was written by Steve Perry. It takes place in between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, similar to War of the Bounty Hunters going on right now. A little bit of trivia for you guys. The video game, you can get the video game on N64 if you still have one, and PC. There's also a comic adaptation, which, of course, we talked about last night on the Cosmic Force. And
okay, hold on. Slow down just a little bit. We've actually got
Sure.
images of some of these. I'm just remembering.
Oh, we do.
So, yes, we do. The video game, I think we've got that one. Is it the one? All right.
Oh,
that's our
look
banner.
at that.
Okay. Yeah, there we go. There it is. There's the box of the N64.
Why does
Good.
Shizor look so creepy?
Good. Well, there's a reason he looks so creepy because he just is so
He is.
creepy.
Yeah.
It's true.
So,
It's true.
I
Yeah.
think this is one of the greatest N64 video game boxes ever made. What do you guys think?
Yes. Yeah, I agree. And then on top of that, when you bought the N64, you had that stormtrooper amongst the Nintendo characters, so it was really cool.
Oh,
see.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Okay, the comic adaptation. I think we've got an image for that too. This is the image there is the cover for, I can't see what number, probably number 1 by Hugh Fleming. Man, that Hugh Fleming art is fantastic, isn't it?
So
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, it really is.
I actually
Really
much
nice.
prefer the covers to the interiors on these.
I agree with you. Yeah.
Okay, and I think we've got number 4 as well. This was one of our picks last night.
Yeah.
Cover there with Chewie looking like what's the bounty hunter name that he's impersonating?
Snuva?
Snuva. Snuva Joe. Am I right? Okay.
NASCAR.
We've also
Chewie.
got NASCAR Chewie. Good. Okay, continue. Let's talk about the merch here, Emma.
Yeah. So we've got some action figures here up on the screen right now. We've got Prince Shizor. Looks like he's fighting Darth Vader, which did not
Didn't
happen in
happen.
the book
Right.
I read, but
No, it did not.
So we have a
actually
very
went out-
jacked looking Shizor here. I mean, he's ripped.
Okay, but Shizor is a martial artist in
It's
addition to
true.
being a creep. All right, he is also a martial artist.
Well,
so he
and in the
can-
book, he did that. He had that machine that would like stimulate his muscles, right? So he didn't
Yeah,
have to like work out.
I forgot about
So
that.
cool.
Yeah.
I forgot about that too. That was so cool. I wish I had one of those.
I went
He
on
can
a
be
little
jacked without actually doing anything.
I went on a little adventure to pick up some of the merch because I couldn't get all the Shadows of the Empire merch. I didn't get all that I wanted. I did get more than I expected. All right, right there in
Oh.
the sweet spot. I got Shizor, and I don't collect the figures in the card on the card. How do you say that?
Carded,
card.
I think.
Carded.
Yeah,
All right, I don't
carded.
collect them in the package. However, I kept my Shadows of the Empire figures in their packages first because the package is cool with the purple and the holographic card here, right? And then there's another reason why I kept Shizor in the package. You want to guess what it is?
keep his pheromones locked in.
There you go, Freddy. Good job. Yeah, you got to keep the pheromones locked away. That's right. They can't hurt anybody in there. Okay, I want to ask you guys. I'm stopping you here for a second, Emma. I want to ask you, out of all the merch ever made for Shadows of the Empire, and we've got action figures, we've got even the comics and 2 figures packs. Those actually came with a comic in them. There's one of Boba Fett. There's the one that we just showed off. There's also one of Boba Fett dueling IG-88. That's the other one, which is cool.
Yeah.
There is the full-size Outrider. Who was it last night on the show who said they had one?
Tyler had one.
Yeah, Tyler.
Yeah, because he was talking about the cockpit rotating.
Yeah, it doesn't match the actual design of the Outrider done by Doug Chang. They actually have it at a local store near me. It's only $75 in the box.
Ooh.
But
Ooh, that's not bad.
In the box. Now you're speaking a different language here.
I've gone twice and have not bought it twice, but it's still there. Who knows? Okay, there's Micro Machines. Do you ever do Micro Machines, Freddie? I
did.
think they're. Oh, you did too, Jacob?
Yeah, I loved Micro Machines, especially because most of them were die cast, right? So
yeah,
it was nice and a little hefty little thing.
So they hurt real bad when you step on them with a bare foot. That's for sure.
Especially the X-wing.
Oh yeah, that's gotta be sharp. There's a vinyl record, as Jacob showed off. Yeah, Jacob's got it. We actually are getting a record store this month in my hometown here, so that's going to be one of the first things I pick up. They also have, this was released more recently, a limited run special edition cartridge of Shadows of the Empire, which I picked up for an egregious amount of money on eBay, but it's so pretty. Okay, there's trading cards, and there's even metal trading cards. Wow. So true 90s fashion. Regular trading cards wasn't enough. They also made die-cast trading cards, which is insane. All right, so let's go around the horn. What out of all of that ridiculous amount of merch for Shadows of the Empire is your favorite? We didn't even mention the Halloween costumes. Have yet to be confirmed. We haven't seen visual sightings of these yet, but Pablo says they're out there. All right, Freddie, let's start with you. Which of these is your favorite of the merch?
I would definitely say the N64 cartridge. That new one, especially by limited run, is just so beautiful.
It is really gorgeous. It's not original to the line though, right? It's not original to the product. So it's got an asterisk, but it is super gorgeous. I'm a sucker for anything with that see-through purple aesthetic from the 90s.
Yeah.
Atomic purple is what it's called.
Is it really?
Atomic purple.
That's what the Nintendo called it, at least.
That's going to be my band name.
Should we get the Atomic Purple Legends Lookback shirts? Kind of see-through.
Oh no!
Oh my gosh. Okay, Jacob, what's your favorite of the merch?
So, okay, a clarification. I don't think the vinyl record itself was original. I think this was a later reproduction or later printing. I think I would guess it came out on CD or cassette or both back in the 90s. I do love it, but I have to say the Outrider, just for the reason that I want to try and push you and enable you more to go and buy it from your store.
If I buy it, I'm going to hang it from my ceiling here in my Star Wars room by a fishing line, and it's going to dangle behind me while I do the podcast.
That's great.
Thankfully, my wife is short, so she probably won't hit her head on it. Okay. Emma, what's your favorite of the lineup?
Yeah, I really like those 2-pack action figures. Or I don't know, they seem so unique to me. We don't really see anything too much like that today, so I like the aesthetic of those.
Those are cool. I love action figures that come with a comic book. I've got a Wolverine that came with X-Men 38. I'm not totally sure, but it is just absolutely one of my favorite toys I ever bought. Meg, I'm going to ask you, out of all of this ridiculous amount of merchandise produced for Shadows of the Empire, do you have a favorite?
All of it. All of it is great.
Great. Excellent. Well, thankfully we don't have images of all of those things. Otherwise we'd be here all night. There's a little bit more trivia though that is a little bit later than the original run of Shadows of the Empire. Emma, I'm gonna let you finish the trivia. Continue.
Sure. So this next thing, I did not know this. This is really cool. Shadows of the Empire was a rumored title for episode 7. Wow. Can you imagine the confusion that might have caused?
Yeah, as if The Force Awakens and The Force Unleashed, like that, hasn't already messed people up enough. They could have had the exact same title, Shadows of the Empire.
Exactly.
Yeah, another one that was rumored was An Ancient Fear. What do you think? Out of the 3, An Ancient Fear, Shadows of the Empire, and The Force Awakens. Which was the best title?
I'm glad they went with The Force Awakens. It sounds the most Star Warsy, I think, than the one that you mentioned. Yeah.
But does it sound Star Warsy because we've sat with it now for 6 years?
That could be it. That could, or maybe because it has Force in the title, that could be it too. I don't know. You have a good point there. We're just used to it now.
Yeah. All right, another one a little bit older than The Force Awakens.
Yeah, so I didn't know this. Well, I think you mentioned this last night, but I didn't know it before then. Shizor is in the Phantom Menace. That's wild. So
Oh,
he's in the
yeah.
background of something. Is that right? Do you know more about this,
Yeah.
Jared?
So I think
Or
it was
Freddy?
the pod race, right? They had
he's
little
in
pegs.
the stands.
Yeah, they had
Oh,
little pegs in the
cool.
pod race to look like people, right? Because it was an actual
I think most of
set.
them were like spray painted Q-tips or something like that. Some
Yep.
some old school practical effects. But then he just was like a little tiny action figure like walking up the stairs.
Yeah, and it's
Oh,
Shizor.
cool.
Yeah.
I'll have to look out for that next time I watch that.
Is it
You will not
Shizor
see
or
it.
is it another Pauline?
It's definitely Shizor, man. It's definitely Shizor. It's got the ponytail and everything.
I mean, what other falling like little action figure has ever been produced? I would probably, I mean, at least back then, I would assume none. But
Yeah, I mean, and plus, you got to figure Shizor was on such a seedy place as Tatooine, right?
Mhm.
Betting on the pod races. That seems like something he'd do.
Yeah, definitely. He likes to gamble in addition to controlling the drugs and slave market of the galaxy. Okay,
Right, as if
we've
that wasn't enough.
got a fun little correction here from Skooma Joe in the chat. It's actually recently confirmed by Pablo Hidalgo. Shadow of the Empire, not Shadows, was the confirmed title. Okay, so there's one more here, and then we've got a couple more popping up in the chat. Go ahead.
Yeah, so there was a sequel / spin-off comic called Shadows of the Empire Evolution, and we also talked about that a little bit last night on the Cosmic Force, and that followed mainly Shizor's sort of bodyguard / confidant / right-hand woman, Guri, who is a droid, but looks suspiciously like a human woman.
We've got a couple images, in fact, of Shadow of the Empire Evolutions. Do you want to show these off, Mag? These are 8 and 9, I think. In fact, this depiction of I forgot about this one. Yeah, there's the ship. There's the Outrider. There's the vinyl album. Yep, there it is. Okay, we're getting there. Oh, yeah, and there's Shadow of the Empire Evolution. I love all the unnecessary stars on this cover.
Yes, it's very extra.
Very extra. Luke looks like he is really going through a hard time here. And then the next image is kind of the controversial depiction of Guri. However, I like this image because it's like recaps her whole life and all of her memories and everything she wants to forget and the things she wants to hold on to. Out of all the images in the comic, this is one of the cooler ones, I thought.
Yeah, I agree. I liked how many flashbacks they did with her, sort of going through all of her past memories, like, and then shading them in a different color, that sort of like rusty color, to show that she was sort of remembering things. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, definitely. We talked about it last night. If you want more information on this, go back and watch that recap on the Cosmic Force episode 10. So we did this last night. We talked about both Shadows of the Empire and a little bit on Shadows of the Empire Evolutions. Fun fact, Caleb, it was his favorite Star Wars comic of all time.
That's true. Yep.
Checks out.
Said
So
Lando was a close second, but I mean, it just barely edged it out.
now we're going to find out if he watches this episode. All right. So remember, everybody, we are now going to be getting into the plot of a 25-year-old book. So, I mean, you've had plenty of time to read it. If not, I actually would recommend checking this out despite its shortcomings and its flaws. If you want a chance to actually read the book, this is your final cutoff. This is your last warning. There we go. This is going to be spoiler heavy territory, so proceed at your own risk. Here we go. Immediately after Return of the Jedi, the rebels are on the search for Han Solo, frozen in carbonite, mind you, in the clutches of Boba Fett. Lando hooks Leia up with Dash Rendar, captain of the Outrider, who has a lead on Fett's whereabouts. He leads them to the planet Gaul, where they find Fett but fail to retrieve Han. Back to the drawing board. Their idea? infiltrate Black Sun, the criminal syndicate led by the fallen Prince Shizor. What could possibly go wrong? Great idea. So, said Prince Shizor is deep in the mires of a dastardly plot reminiscent of Mean Girls, in which he sucks up to the Emperor, attempts to discredit and undermine Vader, also sets the rebels up with the trap, the trap with Endor and the second Death Star plans. At this point in the timeline, Vader has set his sights on his son, Luke Skywalker, who he really wants to just be like his good old dad and fall to the dark side already. Shizor picks up on this dynamic and puts a bounty on Luke dead, not alive, like Vader wants him. So where is Luke in all of this? Well, he's in Ben Kenobi's hut, of course, because Legends, building his absolutely rad green lightsaber from Return of the Jedi. The moment he completes it, perfect timing, he's attacked by a gang of Black Sun swoop riders. Nothing quite like a good Star Wars-y swoop chase, especially through Beggar's Canyon. That's how you know it's a Legends book. With Dash Rendar, that's right, he saves Luke's Jedi tail. What a good Jedi babysitter Dash Rendar is. From there, the pair go to retrieve the second Death Star plans from the Bothans, and many Bothans died, right? And now we learn it was Dash Rendar's fault, kind of. He later learns it wasn't really, but the Bothans still died. So F's in the chat for the Bothans. Let's move on to Leia. Leia's plan is to play ball with Black Sun, which leads her to Guri, a high-ranking woman from the Syndicate who just isn't quite right. After some back and forth, sleuthing, and technological ingenuity, she and Chewie discover that Guri isn't human. She's a cyborg, or whatever you would call somebody who's just like a robot covered in human skin. There's a term, isn't there?
Android, cyborg.
Yeah,
like
android's
that.
what they call her in the comics.
I can't believe I'm going to ask this, but what's the difference between an android and a cyborg? It sounds like a setup to a joke.
I think
a genuine question.
Cyborg is like someone like a human augmented by robotics, and a android is a robot made to look like a human. I think
That feels right.
Definitely feels right. You know what doesn't feel right? Guri. Something was off with her. They figured it out. The moment they figured it out, she realized her cover is blown. So she just straight up takes Leia to Shizor. Shizor's pretty happy about this, believe it or not. He tries to seduce Leia. It's very problematic. It's interrupted just in the nick of time by the Wook, and Leia knees Shizor in his pheromone-laden crotch. Yikes. Way to go, Leia, and good riddance, Shizor. The book's climactic sequence is at Shizor's Coruscant Castle, where Luke, Lando, and Dash sneak in through the sewers to meet up with Leia and Chewie. They throw a thermal detonator down the laundry chute, and they get out at the very last second, except for Dash, who seemingly bites it. More on that yesterday on Shadows of the Empire Evolutions. It's in our coverage on the Cosmic Force. Vader kind of ends up saving them inadvertently by showing up to blast Shizor to bits for messing everything up and for being such a snake. Whew, what a fun book this was. We are going to go around the horn and rate it on a scale from 1 to 10. I want to hear two different ratings. Let's hear both your rating for the book, the novel itself, and then secondly, your rating for the event, action figures and micro machines and all. Let's start with our guests. We're gonna go low. I know Emma's probably got the lowest view out of all of us on this. We're gonna start low. We're gonna work our way up. Let's go Emma first.
All right, so I rated the comics really low yesterday. I'm gonna give the novel much more credit. I enjoyed it a lot more than I did the comics. I'm gonna give the book a 6.8. And I know I just kind of hyped it up, but
I'm gonna give it a great score of a 6.8.
Right, it's a 6.8.
It's okay, almost good. Which
right.
You think about it that way.
That's exactly how I would describe it in words. And then the event as a whole, I'm gonna give it a 6.5. Good story, but
brought down
not really for
by
me.
The comics. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think what you need, Emma, to bring your score up is to purchase some more merch next week when we
That's
go.
probably that would help. That would help. Yeah.
Cool. Jacob, you're up next.
So I will not rate the book as I did not read it, which is it's a great theme. This 2 times I've been on the show, I've not been able to read the novel. It's like Meg reached out to us 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it's like, and I was like, oh, do we have to read the book? She's like, that'd be great. I'm like, oh boy. So that didn't happen.
But you read the comic, which is like an adaptation of the novel.
And I tried to play I tried to play the game today, and that was I wanted to love it. It did not age well. We'll go with that. But I think so. The book I will abstain. I think the event I'll give it a 7.5 because I'm like a consumerist, awful person who loves spending money on merchandise, and this gave us more merchandise than we've had in a long time for Star Wars. I mean, and not just like, toy. It's not just toys or anything like that. It's like we talked about, it's everything. If you want something, they have a Shadows of the Empire version of it. So I'm gonna give a 7.5 for that.
There's even a Shadows of the Empire hat I've been trying to get my hands on, and
Ooh.
Oh,
those are
wow.
one of the rarer items from the bunch. Last I looked on eBay, they were like over $100. It just says Shadows of the Empire, but I mean, I gotta get one. They're pretty cool. It's a nice logo. While we wait on Freddy to refresh his video, I'm going to give my rating. As I have not even considered what my number is going to be, so we're getting it right here on the fly. I gave the comic a 6.9. This was better than the comic. It's not great, so we'll give it a full point better at a 7.9. A full 7.9 for me. We'll talk more about why in a minute. As an event, I got to give it. Okay, so as an event, it's one of the best Star Wars events ever done, right? I mean, we're getting a couple right now with War of the Bounty Hunters and the High Republic. The High Republic, of course, has potential to outrank Shadows of the Empire, but we gotta get some more action figures. We don't have any action figures yet. We did just get shirts recently. What's that?
You did not tell me that the hat was reversible. Oh my god, that makes it way cooler.
It is awesome.
It is like
That sounds extra 90s.
It is, yeah, a white N64 logo, and then you can literally flip it inside out, and it's a black Shadows of the Empire hat on the other side. Okay, that's pretty sweet. I can understand why it's $100.
Yeah, I'm trying to get it, and then I'll mow my yard in it and ruin it. Okay, so I'm gonna give the event a solid 8.5. This was a very good event. The problem is, like, they could have adapted the comic better than they did. And honestly, I've been killed by IG-88 so many times that I would have given it a 9 if he would have just murdered me one fewer time than he did. Freddy, what's your score?
Okay, so the book, I give the book a pretty high rating. It was more nostalgia to me than anything. I think that's the problem with a lot of my ratings. They tend to come from nostalgia. Granted, I did read this book at around 11 years old, and I didn't really understand what was going on. I read it now, and I'm like, "Woof, this is almost."
Yeah, we'll get there. Yeah,
yeah, this is an intensely rated book, or it should have been at least. But I would give it I would say like a 7.3, and I give the comics about a 6.9. The way my progression started was video games, and then the book, and then I read the comics. So that was my progression of it all.
We've got a good question here in the chat from Andrew. He says, "What was the last comic, book, and video game project?" And I'm thinking The Force Unleashed had all those things.
Oh yeah, you're right. Well,
he says
Did it have
loosely
comics?
Alphabet Squadron, depending on if we count squadrons. What'd you guys say?
I didn't know that. I knew that Force Unleashed had a novel. I didn't know it had comics as well.
It does, yeah. Both
Oh.
Force Unleashed 1 and 2 did. At one point, they were the only Star Wars comics that I was looking for that were not available on Marvel Unlimited. So I don't know if they're there now or not, but they were back when I was going through the whole event. I did this privately before I joined Youtini. I did a whole crossover event with myself of reading it all. I played the games and read the book and did the audiobooks and watched behind the scenes commentaries, and it's so much more fun to do this with the crew. Okay, so that's a great question. Love that. Jedi Fallen
Public
Order.
Commando comes close, just doesn't have the comics.
And,
Right.
and the modern Battlefronts have novels but no comics.
This is
So-
interesting. Yeah. Hey,
lot of
High
2 out of
Republic
3.
is getting
Yeah.
close. It's getting close.
Oh my god, High Republic video game, please.
Ooh, I'd play
Would
it.
be awesome. Yeah, I mean, the problem is video games take so long to make now.
I
I mean,
know.
this Shadows of the Empire took time too, but not as much as video games. They take like 5 years now. It's
No
insane.
DLC, right? It's basically what you get is what you get.
That's right. Well, there was DLC for this in a way, Freddy.
Yeah, that's right.
Go ahead and fill everybody in on the relationship between the N64 and the PC game.
Well, so the PC game, if I'm not mistaken, they actually remastered it. I don't know when exactly.
The
But-
next year. Yeah.
Yeah. So You know what? Go ahead and talk about it. I'm right now. I'm trying to buy this hat.
Oh my god.
We'll do more information on this tomorrow. But yeah, it's both on the N64 and PC, which was originally slated as an N64 launch title in '96, got delayed to holiday season of that year, but did still ship. And I found it just the other day in a local retro game store, and oh my goodness, have I died 1,000 times. F's in the chat for all of my digital Dash Rendars. But before we get to Dash Rendar, let's talk about Darth Vader. Let's talk about a familiar character before we get into the originals. Vader is, I mentioned this last night on the Cosmic Force. I've got a working hypothesis about Shadows of the Empire Vader. I want your take on this. Let's start with you, Jacob. Do you feel like Vader had senioritis in this story? Like Vader's checked out of doing his imperial duties?
Yeah, I could see that. Like, I feel like he's kind of putting in that bare minimum. Like, he sends. I think you had mentioned it was a comic exclusive, like Jix, the character. But, like, he sends his guy off to handle the things he cares about with Luke, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna do the bare minimum with this whole Shizor situation. I'm just kind of. He already has his eyes set on college. He's already ready. He's ready to get past Palpatine. He just wants to rule the galaxy with Luke and live his life out how he wants it. So yeah, I totally think it's an apt analogy.
Yeah. Did Emma, you're the closest out of all of us to having just been a senior in high school. Did you have senioritis? You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, 100%. Yes, 100%. Totally checked out. Like, because I remember we graduated, like, I don't know, sometime in early June or something like that. And high school was like a total joke the last 3 months. There was like nothing to do. We're all just sitting around. I remember it clear as day. It was like 2 years ago. But yeah, like, and I do feel like Vader has that senioritis. Like, he's met with Luke in person and is trying to get him on the dark side, and feels like maybe he has a good grasp on him, maybe like emotionally, and kind of just phoning it in with all of his other duties, and is just focused on this one thing. It's similar to how in high school you're just focused on getting out of high school, and Vader's focused on just getting Luke Skywalker.
And yeah, the Emperor is able to use his divided attention to Vader's disadvantage, right? To leverage Shizor to, of course, get the Death Star plans. And Shizor is trying to leverage Vader's divided attention against him to get him out so he can step up as the Emperor's right-hand lizard. And, of course, in all of this, there were a couple of really cool moments for Vader for me in this. I would say some of my favorite Vader moments in all of Legends. I was really surprised. I am a sucker for when Vader flies that TIE Advanced and shoots down some rebels. Do you know what I'm talking about, Freddy? Wasn't this awesome?
Yeah. The thing I like about Vader in Legends is he reminds me of I guess Murtaugh and was it Die Hard? He just doesn't have time for it. He's too old for this stuff. He's too old to worry about. He doesn't like machinations of plotting and whatnot. He just has to do it. He doesn't like the Death Star. He thinks technology is just not where the strength of everything should be at, right?
He sounds like a boomer.
Yeah, he's very much like the power, the force is what matters. The force is what's the power. Money, who cares about money? Who cares about all this other garbage? It's about the force. And he doesn't agree with everything that the Emperor wants to do. It's just like chores for him.
I mean, that even goes back to A New Hope and the whole Death Star like conference room scene. He's, it's like the power of this battle station is nothing compared to the Force. I'm butchering that quote, but you know what I'm talking about. Like, it's been Vader since we met him back in '77.
That's right. Yeah.
Lethal Weapon. My bad.
Yeah. One of the fun Lethal Weapon. One of the fun things about Vader in this, Emma, you teased this on the Cosmic Force. Of course, we've had a running joke that I feel like we've handed off to you guys pretty well now with the Cosmic Force with Naked Palps, and we retired it on this show. Does not exist. But you know what does? Naked Vader.
No.
Vader is naked not once but twice in this book. And now, okay, Meg, don't cut off my audio. Here's the thing. Vader, he gets into that meditation egg, right? And it takes off his helmet, and I imagine he's got a droid that gives him a sponge bath or something. This confirms that, like, he's not just taking off the helmet; he's taking off the whole suit. The whole suit. This is pre-Rogue One by decades, right?
Nubs and all.
Nubs and all. No, it doesn't mention the nubs, Vader. Here, I just called you Vader. It doesn't mention the nubs, Freddy. You're adding the nubs. They're not in the story.
Just putting it all together, right? I mean, he is basically just a bunch of nubbins.
Oh my god.
So let me ask this: who wore it better, Vader or Palps?
Vader, because we didn't see naked Vader, and I'm glad we didn't. So I'm
Yeah, I didn't make the
automatically
comment.
gonna say Vader.
He's not in the comic. Jacob's hesitant to even answer.
I don't know if I could. I actively try and dissuade the naked man who shall not be named on our show, and it seems to somehow come up almost every single episode. Like there are even episodes where we get to the end, it's like we haven't mentioned. Oh wait, here I got a reference. Here we go.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm sorry, Meg.
That's Palpatine's
Thank
power.
you.
Is he can somehow he just
Appreciate
returns.
you.
Well, before we talk about the other naked character in this book, and there is one, we are going to talk about Dash Rendar, everybody's favorite Han Solo wannabe. Maybe there's actually quite a few in Star Wars. Now, I've called him the poor man's Han Solo. Do you think this is a fair assessment? Is he just a Han clone, or is there more to the character?
I feel like he is the 80s/90s version of what we would think a macho Rambo kind of character with the same qualities, right? Mercenary, really, who doesn't have the heart of gold, who, maybe there's tinges of hope, but it's only because it's for, revenge in most cases. This is a pure gray, in my opinion, a purely gray character who just doesn't really care about anything else unless there's money behind it, right?
Purely gray. I mean, I think he's more redeeming than that. I love this quote on page 61 in the paperback, at least. It says that he eats thunderstorms for breakfast.
Oh my gosh.
Now, Dash is the main character in the video game. As we pointed out last night, he's not really in the comic much. There are other, 80s action heroes that kind of take his place between Big Giz and who's the other one? Jix?
Jix, yep.
The comics' original characters, which were unnecessary, but they're there, and there's nothing we can do about it. Does Dash live up to the hype of like this type of an 80s action figure, and like an 80s action hero, like a Rambo kind of character? Does he live up to the hype for you?
Honestly, and this could be because I haven't personally played the video game, I'm gonna have to say no. He felt like a character that was there to help move the plot along for me. Like, if he wasn't there, a lot of things wouldn't have happened. So it was kind of, if he felt like that last puzzle piece that was needed instead of that like super cool action hero that I was waiting to show up at the flip of every page. But, like I said, that definitely, my opinion might be colored if I had played the video game for sure.
Jacob?
Yeah, so the like the one cutscene I made it through in the game before I gave up because it was too hard. I would agree. I think he fits the profile. I think the one thing that differentiates him from like your 80s action movie hero is I feel like most 80s action movie heroes are at least usually kind of the good guy, and I don't know that Dash is the good guy. We're talking about last night where it's like Han Solo and Lando, even though they're in it for the money, they have like the heart of gold at their core, but that's not Dash, and so I don't think he quite fits the mold, but he's close. He's like he's the defective toy that came out.
The defective toy? What's wrong with him? Come on.
I mean, might start with the shoulder pads, but no.
That is the problem. His shoulder pads are way too small on this action figure. And we did talk about this last night. I found out from the behind the scenes interview. I'll have to plug it in the Discord. That Skooma Joe had sent me. Thanks, Skooma. We actually learned that the reason for the shoulder pads was not a design choice as much as it was to hide his clunky joints in the video game. So maybe I should get me some of those. One of the fun things, maybe we've got a couple images here if we can show. There was a lot of debate behind the scenes on what this character should be like, and specifically what his design should look like. There were too many cooks in the kitchen. According to the game designer, in terms of designing Dash Rendar. This early concept art that we're going to show off here is actually, he looks more like Fabio from like 90s romance than he does end up looking like the Dash Rendar that we've got in the game and the comics. Meg, do we have this? Yeah, there he is. Look at this amazing depiction of Dash Rendar.
Hello, my name's Dash Rendar.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can see it.
This is how I picture Prince Iceholder from Courtship of Princess Leia. This is my Iceholder, who is also based on Fabio. You know, it's not a coincidence. So, which design do you like better? The crew cut kind of Kevin Costner looking Dash Rendar, or Fabio Dash Rendar, Freddy?
I like Fabio Dash Rendar, man. It's I can see where, it's hard to say. He's so cocky. There's times where I just roll my eyes at him in the book because it's just like, come on, dude, just stop.
One of the reasons for this is they said his hair was too much to animate, so they just cut it all off.
Well, it would have been
hilarious.
a bunch of triangles, right? In N64.
Yeah. You guys have an opinion on this? What do you think of the Dash that we got versus the Dash we could have had?
If I
Motley
could
Crue Dash.
take the outfit of Fabio Dash and put it with Dash's haircut that we got, that would be the Dash I would want. The Fabio haircut's too much. It's too much for me.
It's a lot.
I'll be a contrarian and say I mean I appreciate the Dash we have, but I could be persuaded to like the Dash that might have been, especially like I feel like he could rock like a single like gold earring on one ear.
Yes.
with that like crazy perm.
With a chain hanging in a
Yeah.
feather.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, definitely. The only person I know with a feather earring actually lives in Maine. So there we go, Emma. There we go.
That's saying a lot about Mainers right there. No, I'm just
It
kidding.
is.
Dash Rendar.
Yeah. His name is something like Stomping Bear. It's like he's got this really interesting name. I'll show you an image sometime.
wow.
Anyway, yeah, that's gonna be a good story for the assembly one of these days. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
So the deal with Dash Rendar, of course, behind the scenes is there were so many different ideas about what he should be like. Should he be a little older and rough and jaded, or should he be more likable and friendly? And of course, what we ended up with was kind of like an indecisive and inconsistent depiction of Dash across different properties. This action figure, I mean, he's baby faced, he's redhead. I can't tell, I can't see the back of his head very well. I'm pretty sure he's got a mullet, but definitely not quite like that Fabio there. The video game, in the video game, the PC version, he's actually voiced by the same actor who does Canderous in KOTOR, which is cool. And ultimately, Dash is not necessarily the most memorable character. He's certainly not the most memorable original character from this book. We've got to talk about none other than Mr. Lizard himself, Prince Shizor. He's green-skinned, except for when he's angry, and he's clad in purple, which actually really jives with like the whole theme that we've got here for Legends Lookback. So there's one positive thing about Shizor. Can't say I never said anything nice. Shizor. We do have to talk about the problematic Leia Shizor stuff. We're not going to go into too much detail on it because we did last night pretty well in the Cosmic Force. I do need to ask this, though. Do you think this is the most problematic Star Wars story ever?
I think so.
Tyler pulled the
my
punch
opinion.
last night. I'm going to say it. Is this the most problematic Star Wars story? Freddie says yes.
I agree. Based on the Star Wars stories that I've read, absolutely 100% yes.
I would rather see a clone, like a vat of 10 million. I'm sorry, Meg.
No, you're not.
Slimy palps, right? Then see Shizor go through this stuff again. Like I read this book, I get it. I wrote a lot of notes about it. I think I might be done with it after this.
The thing is, we're going to make some jokes and laugh it off, but like we have to in order to relieve the tension because it really is that uncomfortable. It is that awkward. The fact of the matter is this really stirred up some behind the scenes debate with the Youtini team when we discovered this in full force for how much there really was. I think sometimes we can kind of brush it under the rug in nostalgia. It's like, oh yeah, I read it back in the 90s. I remember it being a little problematic. But there's other redeeming things. Of course, there's some stuff I love in this story. Absolutely love. But this seriously like made me sick when I was reading it. And I'm not a woman. Like, this is not my experience. I'm not the biggest Leia fan there has ever been. I'm not as invested as I'm sure some other people were. reading this. Emma, I thought you did a great job in the Cosmic Force talking about this last night. This really colored your opinion of the book, didn't it? You felt like it really tanked the story overall for you, didn't it?
Yeah, it really did. And part of me feels a little guilty about letting this tank the whole story for me, but it was hard not to, because it was so disturbing that, and I know that this is the 90s, but at the same time it was so extremely I would say just forcibly sexual, and sort of took away Leia's agency in the situation, that to me, I don't understand how that could have gotten through any sort of approval process even then. And the fact that it did is disturbing. That storyline itself was disturbing. And like I said last night, is just, with the whole pheromone thing and taking away Leia's agency was really I think the point that sort of struck all of us the most. I think if he was just like a scummy guy who hit on her a little bit and then that was it, I think that would have been more acceptable than having this extremely uncomfortable situation where Leia had no say.
Yeah, that was really well said. Well said. We've got some great quotes here from some of the team members when we were debating all of this, and I did not ask their permission to read these on the show, but here we go. Here we go. The fact of the matter is, Andrew's making kind of a good point in the chat right now, which is like, there are some other horrible things that happen in Star Wars. And here's the thing. We're not defending them as good things in comparison to what Shizor did. We're saying in our coverage of this book, we got to this, we were shocked, and it was appalling, and we've got to address it in our roundtable. That is specifically, Andrew said, when we were debating all this, he said, and I thought this was really well said, it's jarring to see this in a Star Wars book, giving the muted tone Legends had when it came to sexual content. And so I think that's the big issue here, is that Star Wars is normally pretty tame with this kind of material. And this was really not on the same kind of leash, was it?
No, it wasn't. I mean, there's a lot of negative things that have happened in Star Wars, right? We've got, Anakin slaughtering a bunch of younglings, slaughtering, a bunch of Tuskens. And, I'm going to play, I don't really want to say devil's advocate, but, Prince Shizor is the crime boss of the underworld, right? He is the underworld. And when it comes to the underworld, there is no moral bounds. You can do anything you want, including using, which, I'm going to say it's kind of like a date rape drug, these pheromones. You can basically get these women, or anybody to do whatever he wants. Robots yeah. Maybe, right? And so, what would he have done? Of course, it's a difference between should they have written about it, or, if this was real life, it's probably something he would have done, honestly. Like, he's probably even worse. More, it's hard to say. It's as a crime boss in the underground, it seems like it checks out.
That's a good point. Yeah, in this is just what we see in the 2 weeks we spend with Shizor. What's to say that he hasn't done way worse than this off camera? That's a great point, Freddy. Andrew had said behind the scenes that this really does an effective job in convincing me that this villain is a truly terrible, unlikable character. And other characters in Star Wars that have done similar things. We just had a great point from Javier in the chat who says that, Jabba puts Leia in a metal bikini. And that does a great job for us, showing us just how horrible Jabba is, right? So it's like there's this gratuitous sexual nature on the one hand for us as fans, wanting to see, unfortunately, like, this is what we're playing into. But on the other side, there's this part that like really shows just how villainous these guys are. Some other good points we made the other night, and we'll move on. Jacob, you had said that you'd heard about the story being kind of iffy, but you didn't expect it to be this bad. Does that hold up?
Yeah, no, I think that checks out. Yeah. I had the conversation last night that with media and like literature, there are arguments to be made whether you should be able to go to any limit to portray a character in fiction to be bad. Like it's a conversation that's come up with like Game of Thrones a lot in the past, and it's a tough gray area, and everyone's entitled to their own opinion. I just think there are, especially for Star Wars, which George always said Star Wars is for kids. I think there should be lines, and I don't think this is one we needed to cross. I think it's very easy to make Shizor be a terrible person without having him attempt to assault someone. So in that way.
I want to say thanks to the chat for being respectful as we handled this very tough issue. So with chats popping off, got some really good spirited debate, and I appreciate that we're keeping it respectable. And I'm grateful everybody's diving in on this tough subject. Trev, the other day behind the scenes, had said, "Don't get me wrong, I love the story, but it's definitely a product of its time." I'm not sure that problematic is a strong enough word. So that comes from Trev, who absolutely loves this story and is going to do a full free the public behind the scenes episode all about all the minutia of Shadows of the Empire, all the stuff we couldn't fit on the Cosmic Force, the Living Force, or Game Nights. Couldn't fit in Nathan's YouTube video, stuff we couldn't fit in the Dash Rendar Prince Shizor collections. All of the rest of it. It's going to be jam-packed into that Star Wars Archives episode from Trev and Jose. And then finally, Meg, you had said something pretty good about this book. Do you want to tell us your opinion on this?
I'm sure I will read it at some point. And then after I get the physical book and read it, I might burn it, maybe.
Yeah. The other day, your direct quote was, "I'm glad this book is only $6, so I don't have to feel bad about burning it afterwards," which is absolutely what needs to be put on the back of the re-release. And Del Rey puts it in a part of their Legends Essential collection. I don't think it's going to make that list.
No.
Mostly because of this. I think that the book would have been a contender for that if it had not been for this.
Mm-hmm.
Now, all jokes aside, we're going to let off the pressure a little bit. There are two original characters in this story, very notable, prominent original characters. There are also a couple of, a handful of legacy characters, the old school characters, right? We got Leia and Luke and Vader, not Han. Sorry, Han. Boba Fett is in the comic more than the book. He's in the video game. Who's the most interesting in this story? Let's limit it between Dash, Shizor, Luke, and Leia. Who's got the most interesting, or Vader? We can put Vader in there. Who's got the most interesting story in Shadows of the Empire? I'll start with you, Freddy.
It's a very interesting one because I really liked to follow Shizor when it came to a lot of his dealings and how much money he had, right? This book did a really good job at how much money the Emperor, Vader, and Prince Shizor had, which, I mean, he's eating rare fruits that are probably worth like 20,000 credits. So it's pretty interesting, but I really liked Luke. I liked following his progression in feeling the Force, and the book did a really great job at describing, these random feelings of like, wait, that's a weird feeling. All of a sudden, I kind of feel happy, and it might mean something. And then he sees Leia, so he's attributing that feeling with Leia, thinking, oh, that was the Force making me aware of her presence. So that's what that is, And it kind of went into some his building up who he is, and his strength, and how he got his lightsaber, and really just trying to get in the moment of what it is to be a Jedi, and what the Force feels like, and what not to do and what to do during certain situations. I thought it was great.
Yeah, definitely. We got a great point here in the chat from Javier, who says, "I wish they could rewrite this book to include the Boba Fett plot. That would be like a definitive edition, and that would be so cool. I would love that. You could also, in the telling of the story, take out the other thing, So that would be really awesome. I would love that. How about you guys? Let's go, Jacob. Jacob, who has the most interesting story in Shadows of the Empire as a character?
It's tough. So it is tough because Shizor is kind of muddled by everything that happened. I think it's because it's such an interesting idea that this is a part of the galaxy that we really didn't see much of until now. We saw the rebellion and we saw the Empire, but you didn't see people like on the fringes in the shadows of the Empire, the people that are operating, illegally and gaining on both sides. So I think it's an interesting idea. I wish it was done differently. So I guess the person I will say then is Dash Rendar, because he's still neutral. He's not a joiner. He said that, but he's also not completely irredeemable in my eyes. So we're gonna go with him.
In fact, I would say if you like Dash Rendar, you can check out that Dash Rendar reading collection, first of all. But secondly,
I know you said that there's the insider collection or insider story. So now I have that behind me, so I'll have to check that out now that I know that that's there.
Yeah, and then he gets his own spin-off book too, which came very late in the Legends timeline. It's called Shadow Games. I found that it's one of the most underrated Legends books. It is excellent. It is a very good book. It is ridiculous. It's Dash Rendar functioning as a bodyguard for basically the Britney Spears of the Star Wars universe, like a pop star, like the Ariana Grande. That's how I pictured her, was Ariana Grande when I was reading it, who's like in a illicit relationship with a Black Sun Vigo. And it's great. It's written by Michael Reeves and Maya Catherine Bonhoff. They actually did some work with Steve Perry, and so they do typically pick up Shizor in their stories. He wrote the Coruscant Night series too. And so Shadow Games is a great story if you want to find the redeemable, likable side of Dash Rendar. He does a great job with that character. Emma, out of the legacy characters and the original characters, who has the most interesting story character-wise for you in Shadows of the Empire?
Yeah, so I'm always tending to lean towards Leia just because I do love her so much. However, I was really drawn to Luke in this book. I liked, like Freddy said, just learning about how his mind works with the Force and how the Force sort of touches his mind and sort of diving deep into his thoughts. And also just the stuff that I got most excited for in this book was seeing Luke build his lightsaber and like cooking his little gem. That was so cool. Like, I can't believe that you could like cook up a gem and then you carved it to make sure it works right. And all of that is just so interesting to me. And I think it's rare for me to enjoy Luke so much in a story. He tends to sort of be one of, not one of my favorites in a story, but in this book, I have to say, like, he ranks pretty high for me, and I was looking forward to his scenes.
Yeah, definitely. I think I would have liked to have gotten more of Dash's story. Definitely agree. Now that I'm playing with him in the video game, I'm really enjoying it. The PC cutscenes. The N64 has like cardboard cutscenes.
So
You've got IG-88's eyes move a little bit, but besides that, then they beefed him up, and so I like his story in that. Is pretty cool, especially knowing that he's the same voice as Canderous, which is cool. We've got a great point here from Javier in the chat, chiming in to say that Vader's story is the most interesting for him in Shadows of the Empire. Loves Vader's story. Love how Perry works his mind telling so little but suggesting so much. And so I definitely agree there. Guri is another character we haven't talked about much. Guri's got a really interesting story, especially as that continues into Shadows of the Empire Evolutions. We said more about that yesterday. Now, one of the things we brought up yesterday we didn't really get enough time for, but hey, we're going to spend a little bit more time on it here tonight, is how would you fan cast these two characters? We had a couple of good answers last night. Kevin Spacey was one. Somebody said for Shizor. Somebody else said Kevin Costner for Dash. I like to think of Chris Pratt as my Dash Rendar. Freddy, who's your fan cast? You love to play the fan casting game. Who you got for Dash and Shizor?
Well, Dash, I'm gonna go.
That's who Brendan Fraser is.
I honestly thought you were joking when you said
too.
you didn't know who he was.
I did too. That's why I was like, I'm not sure on this one, so I'm gonna keep going.
Yeah, you just swept right by that. No, I mean, I didn't know who he is. Oh, that's funny. He's George of the Jungle. Man, that's gonna go in one of those intros for the show
in the
in a
Mummy.
couple weeks.
He's really like a big '90s actor too. Like, it really fits in the aesthetic of the show to know who he is. But I guess you'll have to watch a few movies this weekend.
Maybe so. I had one for Shizor. Now I've forgotten it. Emma, I'm gonna go to you while I think of it. Who you got for the fan cast? Did you give one yesterday?
Yeah, so Dash, yesterday I said Tom Hiddleston, just in that Loki mood. I think he's got the hair for it. And I think he could play a good Dash. And then for Shizor, I did have an answer for that one too, and now I'm forgetting. It was a creepy guy.
You
Voice
actually
of Ultron.
James Spader.
James Spader, yeah. Just because he's
Nice.
creepy as hell. Yeah.
He's so creepy. You actually inspired my Shizor pick. I think that you could have Tom Hiddleston as Shizor. That's not so different from Loki.
Yeah, you've got a good point there. I could see it. Yeah,
A little slimy.
Yeah, I actually like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Great answers here in the chat. Excellent. excellent answers. Andrew says Jason Isaacs is Shizor. I could see that. Bradley Cooper is Dash. I
Bradley
love
Cooper.
that.
That's a good one.
That's a
Yeah.
good one.
That's great. Andrew says Tom Hardy could be Shizor. Tom Hardy's got to get all the Infinity Stones of villains in fictional universes. Oh my goodness. Have you thought of yours yet, Emma?
Yeah. I don't know. I really like that Bradley Cooper pick. I don't know. I'm having a really hard time with Shizor. You know, as much as my I forgot his name again. You know,
James
voice of
Spader.
Ultron. Yeah, James Spader. He could never pull that off, like, ever. But I really like your Tom Hiddleston pick for Shizor. That's a good call.
Freddy's got another one. What you got here, Freddy?
Yeah, I've been thinking about this. When I read Shizor, I immediately thought of Zorg from Fifth Element, who I think is played by Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman does a lot of really good villains.
Yeah, so I thought of Zorg. I'm not sure if you guys remember who he is. He had like the haircut that was all to the side and basically shaven bald with like a plastic thing on there.
I just googled him. I can
Very
totally
creepy.
see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's super creepy.
He's
I
even taking
see
a
him.
bath in some of these images, which is what Shizor's favorite pastime is.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Well, I love the answers here in the chat. If you've got some in the Legends Look Back Discord channel, feel free to pop those there if you are watching this later or listening on audio. As we move beyond the characters, we're going to ask a couple of overarching questions before we wrap this sucker up and pass the baton off to game nights tomorrow. We talked about this a little bit yesterday. Let's get some definitive takes now that we've had some more time to spend with this story. What's better, the book, the comic, or the game? Freddy.
I started off playing the game, but you know, the book, despite all the craziness that happened with Shizor and Leia, it was pretty decent, and it was a fun event. And I can't believe I read this when I was like 11 or 12. That's the part I can't get over. But I would say the video game was my first touch on it, and then the toys. So I would probably rate it as the video game, the toys, the book, and then the comics.
Are you telling me that you are putting this is your second favorite thing about Shadows of the Empire was the story that you created in your mind with the action figures as a kid? That's a brilliant answer. Jacob.
So I'm gonna one up him and say toys number one. Just out of spite, and then I'll go book number two. Having spent like an hour trying to play the game, I'm actually then gonna go comics and then the video game. I'm sure 90s me would have loved it, and if I had it in 64, it'd be a little bit different. But trying to play it on a computer in 2021 is not a fun time. I'll put it at that.
Yeah, and trying to play it on the N64 is also really tough. I have really struggled with it. Oh man, I got through a couple levels very quickly. I spent most of Saturday getting destroyed on Hoth. Finally beat it though. It's a little clunky. All right, Emma, what's your answer?
Yeah, so I'm gonna go book number one. All the merch number two. That includes the soundtrack. I listened to a little bit of it. It's really good. I really enjoyed the soundtrack. I could see like reading the book or the comics and just having that on the background and being pretty good. Third, I'm gonna go video game. Even though I haven't played it, I watched a playthrough and thought it looked pretty interesting. I think if I played it, I would think of it even higher. And then I think last, I'm gonna go comics for sure. You know, like we said last night, they didn't do the best job adapting the book and felt kind of like constrained for time, not super organized. So I think as much as I love comics, I'm gonna place those last.
Unfortunately, it just could have been adapted better. Could have made more. Could have been its own clear story. Mike had a great point a few minutes ago that he wishes that it could have been just the bounty hunter story. Like it could have told just a separate story and not try to adapt the book. The bounty hunter parts I thought were the absolute best in the comic. Yeah. And so it would have been great if the comic was just that. And I agree. So great point there, Mike. I'm actually going to throw up here in the Legends Look Back Discord channel because I'm having trouble with links in the YouTube chat. I've got a plug here for the Shadows of the Empire toys. They made a commercial for it that is the most 90s thing ever. Oh, and there is a picture of an atomic purple see-through shirt in our Discord channel. Thanks for that. Thankfully, it's on a mannequin. Oh my gosh, I love y'all. Now, we talked about what's better, the book, the comic, or the game. Tune in tomorrow for some coverage on the game as Andrew plays that. We talked about the fan casting. Oh, I've got one more here. I thought I missed for the fan cast. David Tennant for Shizor, who plays the villain in Jessica Jones. He
Yeah, that's a good pick.
I apparently wrote that down a couple weeks ago. Okay, what else we got here? If you didn't know this was a massive multimedia story, if you just randomly picked up this book off the shelf at your local bookstore, which happens, I'm sure. It's got a great cover. If you went into this book not knowing it was a massive multimedia story, would it affect your opinion, Freddy?
That's a good question. I feel like that was the whole thing for me, was the whole market, right? I remember being, in what was it, 94? What was I, like 10 years old? I forget. So anyway, just imagine it was kind of a dark era for Star Wars. And all of a sudden you had a video game. You had a Rogue Squadron as well, though, as a video game. So those were the two that were out. And I'm pretty sure they made more either just after that. But, hearing about Star Wars again, seeing that there was a brand new book, seeing that there were comics coming out, not knowing the content, it was a pretty great time. But without all of that, it's hard to say. I mean, I feel like, that's where the lower ratings come from, and those, newer fans who are digging into this, who weren't around during that blitz. It doesn't really, I'm not sure. It doesn't really sit as well.
Yeah. How about you, Jacob?
Yeah, I think it's the legacy of this kind of thing is something that is more important than the story itself, I believe. I mean, like, just the idea of doing something as expansive as video games, comics, action figures, like all this put together outside of, a major production movie is pretty crazy. So I think Star Wars is for the better for having it, even if it has some less than stellar parts. Just with, I don't think this existed now, I don't think we would have War of the Bounty Hunters or the High Republic today. So I'm happy for that much, at least.
Oh man, that's great. That's great. I just saw something that was put in Slack.
Yeah, if I just whiffed on the prompt for that, you know why.
No, we're gonna get to it. All right, Emma. If you didn't know, if you went into this blind, how would it affect your opinion? I mean, you would probably need to be able to read the book, but like, if you went into this not knowing about all the periphery, how would it affect your opinion?
I think it would make my opinion of the book higher, honestly, because I feel like having all of these other side projects affected so many of the other parts. Like, maybe the whole story was restricted in some sort of ways by having to do comics and action figures in a video game. And as a book by itself, of course, this goes without saying, forgetting about the horrible Shizor Leia stuff, as a book itself, it's pretty good. Like, it stands on its 2 feet pretty good. And I could see in the Legends era, if I'm going back before I was born, and this is a book that I pick up and I want to know what happens between 5 and 6, I'd be very pleased, I think, with this, besides all the problematic stuff, for sure.
Yeah, in fact, Freddy, I'm workshopping this. Now, I'm a little rusty on some of my old school 90s Bantam era Legends books. Obviously, reread the Thrawn trilogy recently, reread quite a few X-Wing books recently. iJedi is in there. Out of the 90s Legends books, how do you think this stacks up? Is it right behind the Thrawn trilogy and the X-Wing books? Or is it lower tier than that for you?
The Bantam era, right? So, there's a lot of pretty decent books around that time. Like, which is Jedi Search, right? You've got Jedi Search as well.
Yeah, the Jedi Academy trilogy.
Yeah, I don't know. This one's pretty far down for me.
Is it? Okay. For me, I think it's right under the X-Wing books. I mean, it's actually got some pretty cool stuff in it. So let's talk about our favorite parts as we close out the show here. Meg, I've actually got an image of my favorite part. It is the swoop chase. This is some fan art, I think, of Dash on the swoop bike. Coming to save the day for Luke Skywalker, especially with our purple overlay we have. This really looks great. This is pretty cool. Love that.
Almost looks like he's a ponytail that's just flowing behind him, but I know that's The Rock.
It does look like that.
If
Oh
it
my
was
gosh.
Shizor, his ponytail would be flowing. All right, the next image is Emma's favorite part. If you can throw that up. No,
Yes.
sorry, Emma.
Oh,
Okay.
no.
This is official art, mind you. This is actually some of the tamer art of this scene.
You jokester. Yeah.
Okay, Emma, what's your favorite part?
Yeah. My favorite part is surprisingly has to do with C-3PO and R2-D2.
Yes,
It's when they were
yes.
flying the Millennium Falcon. That was great. And it was, in the comics, it was made even better by the layout of that page. It struck me because, their sort of panel was like cockeyed because they were flying upside down and C-3PO was having a heart attack. Even though droids can't have a heart attack, he was having one. And I just found that part to be so hilarious.
Yeah, that is great. I forgot about that. Jacob.
Oh, that's tough. I really, it was kind of small, but I really did like the Boba Fett. It got a little repetitive, but the last Boba Fett fight on Slave One and Houndstooth, and I thought that was kind of cool. I like seeing a lot of those, bounty hunters, even if some of them weren't important enough to have a name. But yeah, I don't know. I thought it was kind of it was different. I enjoyed it. Even I think that was definitely the best of the bounty hunter fights, as many of them as there were.
Well, you just wait till the video game. I mean, the bounty hunter fight that I'm having a lot of fun with right now is just getting murdered by IG-88's purple balls on the trash heap.
Yeah.
Freddy, what's your favorite part?
So my favorite part is, it's kind of broad, but it's the fact that if you read a lot of the Empire there and Shizor, they're planning, they're conniving. But every time they come to the rebels, it's just like, we'll just see how this happens, or no one in their right mind would do that. And they clearly do it, right? So most of the time it's just like, we don't really know what we're going to do. We don't know what our end goal is, but we're going to figure it out and it's going to work. Trust us. And maybe that's why the Empire just underestimates them. And so does Black Sun. They don't, they're not really trying to plan and be conniving like Vader and Shizor are, right? They're just trying to do their thing and do good, and it's pretty basic, and whatever it takes to get there, right? And they have nothing to lose, and that's the most dangerous thing is when you have nothing to lose. So I think it's not really a certain scene, but I think it's just the whole vision of how everything kind of goes down.
Yeah, good answer, Freddy. Good answer. All right, I've got your new favorite thing that's going to supplant that, though, is this. In this particular image that is a notable cover of Shadows of the Empire, I want you to tell me who Dash Rendar looks like in this particular image, because, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, this is the spitting image of a certain someone at Youtini. All right, Meg, the last image of the night. Throw it up here. This is, trying to remember which issue cover this is. All right. Right there next to Han, there's a man. He has brown hair and a kind of brown beard. Who does this look like to you, Freddy?
It's somebody who also is looking for the money.
Oh my god.
You see this, Emma? Who do you think this looks like to you?
Oh, 100%. That looks like Dr. Corey Helton. It's like his
doesn't it?
It's like his long lost twin brother.
That's so great, especially because Meg's got it zoomed out a little bit here. It's like you just got to squint a little bit. It's great.
Yeah.
What do you think, Jacob? Is this true? No, you made one that you just threw up in the Slack.
Yeah, I did. I'll throw it in Discord after this is over. It's, I don't know. It's pretty close.
Just
But
bigger
I guess
shoulder
that's
pads.
90s art for you.
We need to get Corey some shoulder pads. Well, it's been a ton of fun. Thank you to Emma and Jacob for joining us this week, guys. You've been absolute sports while this episode goes long. This has been exciting for me, and so I had so much to try to cram in, and we even cut quite a bit of content. All right, so hope you appreciate it. Thanks for staying up late with us. Remember, everybody, there will be no show next week. Is there going to be something else hitting the audio feed as a bonus instead? Stay tuned. You'll see. And by see, I mean hear. The next episode of Legends Look Back proper, we are going to do the Valence character spotlight. And then the next roundtable, Freddy, you've already started it. You want to tell the folks what the next Legends Look Back roundtable is if they want to get a head start on the reading material?
Yeah, next roundtable, we're going to go over Shatterpoint by Matthew Stover. So I'm pretty
Yeah.
excited to read that.
The release on that in the Essential Legends collection comes out just in a few days on the 15th, I believe. So looking forward to popping that in my earbuds and ignoring my wife's family on vacation. No. I got to do both. Got to do both. Well, that does it for this week. Thanks for joining us on Legends Look Back. Thank you for hanging out with us in this big, epic crossover event that will continue tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern on Youtini's. It's not Twitch anymore. Come on, help me out, Freddie. YouTube. Yeah, there it is.
YouTube.com/Youtini. Yeah.
Thank you, Emma. Thank you. Yeah. I got used to saying it a certain way. And well, that does it for this week. Thanks for our incredible patrons for your amazing support. Thank you specifically to Cheryl Bell, Patrick Ortiz, Carl Sander on our Jedi High Council, Elizabeth Cloutier, Jason Mitchell, Sally and Chris Eilerson, and Freddie C. on our Alliance High Command. Thanks for your amazing support. If you want your thoughts read on this show, did we totally miss it with Shadows of the Empire? Don't tell us that, but tell us something else that's great. Email us at legendslookback@youtini.com. Send us a message in the Legends Look Back Discord channel. You can leave a comment on this episode on YouTube, or hey, you can find us on Twitter at Legends Look Back. Or I'm at Jared Q. Mays. Freddie is
at Wake Up Freddy.
Meg.
At Meg Dowell.
Emma.
At Irma Jedi 26.
And Jacob.
At Jacob Bausch.
Excellent. If you're looking to buy some of these great books like Shadows of the Empire, or hey, even if you want to pick up that $100 plus reversible N64 Shadows of the Empire, it's got to be on Amazon. It's probably way overpriced. You can head on over to Youtini, click on Amazon link in the profile. You could buy even other stuff too, if you want to. And of course, you could even leave us a review through the book profile page as well and let us know what you think about these books. Remember, everybody, keep the Youtini fan code and be a force for positivity in the fandom. See you tomorrow. May the force be with you.